All right, switching gears here to tech. Yahoo Finance tech editor Dan Halley has been diving into how social media is capturing the unfolding crisis between Russia and Ukraine. Dan joins us now. Dan.
That's right, Brian. What we're seeing really is, again, as you put it, this kind of unfolding of the conflict in Ukraine, the invasion, take place across different pieces of social media, whether that's on TikTok, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. And we're really seeing it kind of impact the war itself to a degree. You obviously have President Zelensky over there on social media regularly trying to rally Ukrainians on the street, showing himself out there in public, giving defiant calls to stand up against the Russian aggression. You also have posts from Ukrainians in general posting that you would see in Russia, where you wouldn't see that coming from Russian media sources. So, Russian state media basically saying, the war is an act to protect Ukrainians. Well, now you're getting information in Russia from Ukraine dispelling that. And as a result, we're seeing more protests throughout Russia at the risk of them, those protesters being beaten and arrested. We also have images of Russian rockets being fired at civilian centers. We saw that image of the apartment building that was hit with the blast, or images of rockets that haven't exploded fully embedded in streets, or in one particular instance, there was a missile embedded in someone's apartment building that hadn't exploded yet. And those have helped to push forward the kind of actions that we've seen over the weekend with the additional sanctions and the call to have Russia expelled from SWIFT. So it's really having an impact, not just on people, but also on the governments there. And it's important to point out, though, that this isn't the first conflict we've seen play out over social media. This is a Eurocentric conflict that we're seeing. And so it does lead to frustration for people who have been involved in other conflicts, like the ongoing issues in Yemen and Afghanistan, where they were on social media but didn't receive this kind of coverage. So there's frustration from people in those groups as well. And it's something that's definitely worth talking about. But it really is incredible to see how social media is kind of pushing this forward and having a direct impact, really, on this conflict.
Yeah, and on public opinion, indeed, of course, as well. Dan, there's also, of course, while this is playing out on social media, there's also an effort by the various platforms to restrict social media in various ways, including trying to get rid of misinformation, for example. You have a restriction of RT's various social media outlets, right? And so what are we hearing from the various companies as it's not an easy thing to do, as we've certainly seen in other situations?
Look, these are companies that otherwise would kind of accommodate Russia, especially when it comes to anything that's a state or a state set law, right? So we had Netflix; they were going to be asked to, or are being asked to, eventually carry state media, and they've said now that they will not do that. That includes some of the state media that's pushing Russian propaganda. YouTube is demonetized RT, and they're not allowing it to be seen in parts of Ukraine. We've seen Facebook or Facebook's parent Meta come forward and say that they're working against state actors who are pushing propaganda or otherwise trying to hack high-level Ukrainian officials and poses them to push things for Russia, basically saying that, here's an image of Ukrainian tanks surrendering, which is not accurate. So we're really seeing these companies kind of come forward. They're obviously going to be asked to do more. We saw the Ukrainian official ask Apple to stop supporting Russia by providing its phones there and the app store. So it'll be really interesting to see what else we get to see from these companies and how else they respond. But so far, they do seem to be stepping up to the plate to a degree in a way that we haven't seen previously before.
Finance tech editor Dan Halley, thanks so much.